Hello, everyone. I was deep in my mic right there. Welcome to Across the Pond, the podcast where I talk with strangers from all around the world. It not necessarily is always across the pond. I talk to a lot of people in the States, but there are some times where holy crap, I can't speak. There are some times, though, where I speak with people literally across the pond. I've spoken to people in Portugal, England. I want to be speaking with people in Scotland and Ireland and Greece soon, so that'll be cool. Today I get to speak with Shay. We speak a lot about homosexuality, which is really solid. We speak a lot about just kind of being open-minded. Seriously, like, this was a good one. This was a solid one. And what's really funny is that Shay and I have been trying to do an episode for, like, I don't know, the past maybe two and a half, I think 3 months by the time this goes live. I don't know. She filled out the form early September, so whatever time you're listening to this, it took us about 3 months or so to try and figure everything out. So this was a long one in the making, but it was really good. Hello? Hi. Hi there. How are you? I'm doing good. Hold on just 1 second. For whatever reason, can you say something real quick?
Yeah, I'm
Oh, there we
right
go. There we
here.
go.
Cool.
For whatever reason, my recording software wasn't picking up your voice, and so I just had to make sure
Mm,
that it was under the right preset or whatever that thing's called.
okay.
So
Okay.
cool.
Cool. All good now?
Yeah, we're all good. We're all good.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, one, thanks for doing this, and two,
Yeah.
thanks for being so patient. I know it's been like oh goodness, I think it was almost 2 months now, maybe going on to 3 months of trying to like figure out a time to speak. So I'm glad that we could
Yeah.
finally nail it down.
Yeah. No, I mean, same ditto because I've been around and I've also had to reschedule too. So yeah, I appreciate it. I was going through our emails and I was like, dang, we've had so many emails. It's kind of funny, but yeah, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Like I've always wanted to speak with you ever since you filled out that form, like kind of going through your stuff now. I'm like, man, I can't wait to talk about some things. I'm excited. I
Yeah.
can I can remember when we first scheduled this, I was like, oh man, I can't wait to talk to Shay. She seems so cool. Like, this is gonna be awesome. And then rip, you got sick.
Yeah.
By chance, did you catch COVID, or were you just sick with like something else?
I got tested twice and did not, and it was negative both times. Um, but I had strep before,
Hmm.
and then like a week later, I just got sicker than I've ever been, and it was a different kind of sick. It was, I don't want to like go into detail,
Yeah, of
but
course.
it was weird. It was really weird. And I was like, how am I testing negative? Like, what do I have? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it didn't feel like the flu, which I've had before. Um, so yeah, I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, no, I feel
Yeah.
that. I actually when so coronavirus started like officially, when was it? Like February of this year or something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. The previous, so a couple months before that,
Hmm.
November, um I was working at Target, and one of my coworkers got sick, and she went to the doctor and everything. She's like, it's like the flu, and like it feels worse than the flu. Like, I don't know what it is. And the
Hmm.
doctor even said, he's like, this is a strain of the flu that I've never seen. Like, I don't even know
Whoa.
if it's necessarily the flu. And so everyone's starting to freak out. They're like, wait, what if she has coronavirus? But this was
Hmm.
before everyone knew that like it was bad and everything. They were just like, oh, it's just another flu strain, right? And so
Hmm.
I caught whatever it was from her,
Mm.
because she was like, oh, like I would wake up super sore and like I was never
Yep.
hungry and all this stuff. I was like, shoot, maybe I had it. I wasn't
Yep.
tested or anything, just because of it, like at that point in time, testing and everything was like minuscule. People didn't really care. So
Hmm.
I say that I had it, and it sounds like you might have had it, but
Yeah.
because it was, negative testing, and in my case, no testing, who knows?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they say that, COVID was there before
Hmm.
before the public like really knew about it.
Hmm.
The government knew about it because it was elsewhere. It was across the world. Um, and so it just like made its way over here.
Hmm.
So yeah, I've heard so many instances of that, of people being sick like a couple months before
Hmm.
everything kind of started to ramp up. So yeah, it was bad, but I'm glad. I mean, obviously a lot of people have died, but a lot of people are surviving it,
Hmm.
which is also amazing. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of a mess.
Yeah. I'm just gonna be happy. And we don't have to talk anymore about this because I know it can be
Mhm, mhm.
so daunting, just annoying more than anything. But I'm just kind of
Yeah.
glad that the numbers aren't as bad. And this is going to sound super awful. Just hear me out. Like, I'm glad that the
Yeah.
numbers aren't as bad as they could be.
Right.
If you look at the numbers, like there's a lot of people who get infected, and in terms of percentage of people dying, it's much lower than what it feels like everyone thinks is going on.
Yeah.
And so, like, I'm not saying that like those people's lives don't matter, but it could be much worse. And so I'm trying to look at it from the silver lining, if you will.
Yeah. No, I mean, you have to,
Yeah.
or else you'll just go down a trail of dread,
Oh,
I think.
yeah, I know. It's
Yeah.
just awful. Anyway,
Yeah.
you're not still in school or anything, are you?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, just, an adult out of school. I spent a lot of time in school though. I got my master's, so I was 6 years in college.
Oh
And
man.
then right after I got my master's, and then I mean, I even went for a semester for dietitian school, and once I hit Chem 1, I was like, no, I cannot go to organic chem. I cannot go to chem 2. Like, this is not my thing. And then I did a semester last year of music. So
Mm.
I've always feel like been in school, always learning, I think.
So, because of that, do you just really enjoy learning, or do you have maybe something to where it's like, oh, I just want to give this a try because I can?
I love learning. Um, but I think like with the dietitian stuff, yeah, I think it was all learning. And
Mm-hmm.
it was like, how do I want to learn? I knew school. I
Mm-hmm.
knew school was the way to learn. But now I know the way to learn is books, is going onto YouTube
Oh yeah.
and like learning on there. I learned so much on there and learned so much through books that I'm like, oh wait, no, I was just used to school. That's just what I knew.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went there, when I really didn't, want to be in school.
I feel that. I was the same exact way. I
Hmm.
absolutely, well, so this is going to sound weird, but hear me out. I love lectures because I'm the kind of person that needs to sit down and have someone speak to me to learn. I
Hmm.
can't just like, it's really hard for me to open up a book, look at the words, and then try and retain that information. It's just always been something that's hard. Um, but I hated school, but I loved learning. I loved sitting in class and just listening to lectures. I loved that stuff, but I hated school in and of itself. And I think that's because I hated doing the work, like all the homework and stuff. Not to say
Hmm.
that like I was lazy, but
Hmm.
a lot of the assignments that I felt like were given were literally just to get a grade rather than
Yep.
for you to learn something that was valuable towards your major or towards the class that you were taking.
Yeah, 100%. Both of my parents are educators, and I mean, so like education is a really big part of my life, and um, yeah, I think so too. It's busy work. I
Hmm.
did so much busy work, and I think kids are smart enough to know what's busy work and what's worth it. And so when you give them busy work, it kind of shows that the teacher isn't really taking the time to really connect.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's frustrating.
Yeah, I'm just glad that I'm out of school. I love learning naturally, when it comes to just kind of doing
Yeah,
life. That's how I feel like
yeah,
I learned. But what made you really
yeah.
want to go into like marketing? What was kind of like your early childhood or like young adult? I need to go to marketing kind of thing.
I think I loved consumer behavior. I loved the fact that McDonald's logo is red and yellow, and so that entices people to go get McDonald's.
Hmm.
uh, and I was just fascinated with that. And the marketing also was like, let me narrow down, out of, I don't want to do science, I don't want to do math. So it's like, okay, marketing is one of those things where, you don't need to know like equations.
Hmm.
It's more the creative aspect. So I was like, I loved advertising. I just really liked the creative aspect of it. And then after a while, I was like, oh, crap. A lot of these companies are really taking advantage of misinformation and miseducation and lower socioeconomic groups and communities. And so there's a dark side to marketing.
Hmm.
And I kind of just fell out of that. I mean, to be honest, college was kind of forced upon me in that I played basketball in high school. And so I went straight from high school to basketball, from recruitment. And then I was just kind of there. And because education was a huge part of my parents' lives, they're like, you need to get a college education. And so I just didn't know what I wanted. And so marketing was the most interesting thing to me.
Would you say that if your parents didn't, and I'll say force, if they didn't force you to go to school, or, let's just say maybe somehow for some reason basketball fell through and it wasn't a direct route to go to college, do you feel like you would have gone?
I have to say at 17, which is when I went to college, I didn't know what I wanted. I had no idea. I was so wrapped up in friends. I mean, just probably in the past year, when I was 17, that was the year that my parents found out I was gay. And so that my life was kind of like crazy, like I was in my head. I was all about my friends. I was all about my girlfriend. And so I had no career aspirations. And also I was in a small town. And so when you're in a small town, you don't see other people kind of having aspirations or going, and moving away and doing something different. So I was just kind of there, just going with the flow. So I don't know. I really don't know what would have happened. I probably would have went to school, but maybe like a University of Illinois, like a big school where there was a lot of parties. And, some of my friends were going there too. So I probably would have done that.
So kind of go with the flow kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, none of my friends went to the school that I went to play basketball. And so that was a number one, was basketball. So I think, if I didn't play basketball, I would have went somewhere with my friends.
Did you play sport? Or I shouldn't say did. Have you played sports most of your life up until, say recently?
Yeah. In high school, I did pretty much everything. Not all 4 years, like track. I did 1 year, cross country, 3 years. I did basketball every year. I played volleyball a couple years. Softball, I played a year. I think that's pretty much all we had. And then we had powder puff, which was probably my favorite. Just the girls' football one night on homecoming or whatever it was. But sports pretty much all my life until I ended college. And didn't really play much after that.
So when you went to college and you were playing sports and everything, was it kind of hard for you, kind of given your situation with everything, coming out as gay and your parents kind of, I would assume as of right now, being confused. I'll ask you more about that later, but would you say that was all kind of just like super hard to do?
It was terrifying. I went to a private school in Jacksonville, Illinois called Illinois College.
Oof.
And literally middle of Illinois.
Oh man.
And I can't tell you the number of people that were on the campus. Like I really have no idea, but it was like a small town. Like the campus was a small town. There was one other gay person there. And it was like she was the gay person, you know.
Oh yeah.
She was kind of like an outcast, but she was still friends with people, but it was kind of like an outcast type person.
Mm-hmm.
And I just actually one of the first nights I was there, I was at a party with one of my teammates who I was really digging. I was like, she's cool. Like, she was also in the position right above me, so I was like second to her.
Mm-hmm.
And then she asked me, "You're not gay, are you?" And ever since then, I knew that there would be repercussions if I came out to my friends. And so at the semester, I actually left. I just wasn't comfortable. So I went back home, and then I went to a community college where I knew the basketball coach. And then I was on the practice team with them and then played for them the next year. But my stay in Jacksonville was very short. And yeah, it was really just because I did not feel I could fit in there, which was really, really scary, you know, and I couldn't, not that I thought I was going to be harmed or anything, but yeah, I just, not being able to express myself fully was really hard.
Yeah. And of course I won't give like a number, but you know, X amount of years ago, that the whole being gay thing really wasn't accepted, or really wasn't, you know, okay. Like, people weren't okay with that. And so all being gay, especially back in that time, I can only imagine the fear and the anxiety, and even just like the small things that maybe straight people might not think about. I would assume that you felt a lot of just like really strange emotions, because like you said, you don't know what your teammates are going to think of you. You don't know what your coach is going to think of you, you know. And if you come out like that, who knows what could happen. You could turn, you know, your whole educational career upside down on top of its head, and you could get kicked out for whatever reason, because, you know, back then possibilities were almost endless because it was so frowned upon.
Yeah. And you know, at that time I didn't really know too much about history with gay people and really fighting for their rights and everything. So you know, I wasn't worried about getting beat up or anything. But I mean, so many people have fought through worse, you know. So I don't want to say what I fought through was very small, because it's very important. But yeah, I mean, I didn't have it like people did X amount of years ago. And for all of those people, I'm so grateful that they, you know, stood up to people to be their own selves.
Yeah. And like, so I'm just going to come out and say this, you know, I'm religious, right? And so what I'm about to say, I don't mean this in any disrespect whatsoever. And you're probably thinking, oh, he's going down this road. I promise I'm not. I do think, though, that it's really sad to see gay people not be able. I can say that term and be correct, right? Gay people?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. Like, I'm not offended by that or anything.
Okay. And I just want to say that because I'm not very knowledgeable about that entire realm. And so I don't want to say a word and have it be, or like a term and have it be like, excuse me, what'd you just say? So, so if I say, is that acceptable? You know, like, I apologize. I'm just trying to do my best to, you know, be respectful. But I think it's really sad when we see people of different religions, or we see people of different, you know, classes, you know, social economic classes, what have you, come out and say like, you can't be you can't be that because I think it's wrong for X reason.
Yeah.
You know, like, of course, you know, like, being religious, you know, I have my opinions and stuff on it, but I'm not going to go out and be like, you know, Shay, you know, like, blah, blah, you know, and like condemn you to hell or anything. Like, I'm not going to do that. You know, like, you're a person, and your feelings are valid. And who am I to say that you are right or wrong in your feelings?
Yeah.
So it's really, I'm encouraged how gay people are more vocal about who they are. Because the last thing that I would want is for people to know who I am. And then just because they know who I am, I don't want them to feel like they need to hide something just because of, you know, my faith or my, you know, beliefs or opinions or whatever it is. Like, I don't want you to feel scared, because I'm the same person as you. You just have different feelings and different thoughts, and we're still trying to, as a human race, as a society, we're trying to push forward. Just because you have a different opinion doesn't mean I'm gonna, excommunicate you and be sinful, get away from, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna do that. And so I say all of that to say, I'm saddened to hear that even X amount of years ago, that, you felt that. I mean, it kind of makes sense given the time period, but I'm glad now, that you're able to kind of come out a little bit and be like, yeah, I'm gay, I'm not sure what your road is with that. And I'll ask you about that question in just a second, but it's kind of encouraging to hear, because it's like, I'm glad that you are able to feel okay in yourself rather than, scared and closed off. And you're like, oh, I don't know what to do because I'm scared of persecution.
Yeah.
So I say all that to say, I'm glad that you are comfortable with who you are.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad too, and I wish that upon every gay kid, adult who is still closeted. It definitely wasn't easy. It's still sometimes not easy, and yeah, it's just one of those things that you have to do. You just have to. The want for me to be free is more important than the want to not be ridiculed.
Yeah. And that's where I feel like a lot of people, any person, regardless of status or, religion or whatever it is, I feel like too many people nowadays are so concerned with what they believe that they try and force it on other people. In all aspects too, and I'm saying this as more like a blanket statement, but it kind of sucks, that people feel the need to condemn others and make them feel insignificant simply because of their belief and compared to what someone else believes. And it's just really sad. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, to be honest.
And I think it's really deeper than their beliefs. Like, it has to be some type of insecurity they have, that they feel like something's being taken away from them, that they feel hurt in a way by other people doing these things. I really think it's deeper than just believing in the Bible, because I don't know, like deep down in your heart, I don't care if you like, I read a lot of personal development books, and a lot of the lessons are exactly what is said in the Bible. And I was just thinking the other day, I was like, I wish the Bible would have been taught to me in the correct way, because maybe then I wouldn't be afraid of it or whatever. But I think as a human being with a heart, that we come from this universe, that we know deeper than what we've been taught through the Bible. So if we're taught that homosexuality is bad through the Bible, which is again, I haven't read the Bible, but it's been interpreted different ways. And if they take the interpretation that homosexuality is bad, I just think deep down as a human, what's more important. It's love is more important than condemning someone. So yeah, I think it's deeper than just what the Bible teaches as far as like homosexuality or those things that have been interpreted differently. So I'm not sure. I think it is it's very upsetting that people will condemn other people for their beliefs, but I think it's a lot deeper, that people won't really look in the mirror to go deeper.
Yeah. And just to kind of like, so this is my own interpretation of everything. I'm going to kind of spill it out just a little bit. So I kind of help you see where I'm coming from, at least in terms of the Bible. So I am, of course, the greatest commandment in the Bible is love. Like we should never just hate someone because, like Jesus, when he was on the earth, like if you read any of his parables or you read anything about his life, like it was nothing but love. That's what it was. He spoke love. Of course, he spoke truth, and sometimes the truth was hard to swallow, but it was all done in love, and like it's very evident. And then there's another thing that I feel like a lot of people don't understand. And this is the thing that really bothers me. And this is what I stand by. So the Bible is very clear on you don't want to judge one another. But it also says that you don't want to judge someone who isn't a believer. Because, of course, like you're a person, you believe what you want to believe. I'm a person, I believe what I want to believe. And like, because of our differences, how we were raised, parent, whatever it was, you chose your road, I chose my road, right? And so the one thing that a lot of people don't understand, at least religious people, is that the Bible says don't judge one another. And it's talking about people who haven't chosen that religious path. And so when I see people who, because it clearly says, like, if you have someone who is of the same faith as you, like, of course you want to judge them because you want to point them towards the whole reason that you are religious, which is God, right? So you want to, of course, for example, if, my good friend Bob or whoever it is, they were the same faith as me and they were having a really, really bad problem with, alcoholism or whatever it is, so it takes some like super hardcore sin or whatever you want to say. And they were suffering with that. And then if they were a believer, I'd be like, hey, like, what are you doing? And I would, of course, do my best to try and point them back into what we believe is the right direction. But if they're not, they're just someone on the side of the street, I'd be like, hey, like, how you doing? And I would love them and I would come next to them. I would do what I could, and I say all of that to say it's really saddening for me when we see people who are religious, but all they do is condemn others because that's what they think the Bible says, when it's not that way, at least from my interpretation of it. And so I say all that to say, like, we just have to love each other. Like, there's no, like, just because, Joe Schmo down the road, might be, homosexual, whatever it might be, Phil over here might be, super abusive, or it might be like, whatever it is, we just have to love people.
Yeah.
And that's what I stand by. You have to love people. It shouldn't matter, like what they do. You got to love people.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, everybody's hurt. And
exactly.
That's why they hurt others. Yeah. Understanding and compassion.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, I don't mean to preach at you or anything. And that's the last thing that I want to do. I just want you to see at least where I'm coming from, since, we kind of went down that. Would you be able to kind of, your whole, and this is going to sound really bad if I don't know how to say it, your whole, like, let's say gay path, if that's right. Can you kind of start from the beginning and just kind of go to, of course, whatever you're comfortable sharing, and whatever you're not, of course, you don't have to share, but, just kind of maybe from start to like where you are now, kind of that whole path.
Yeah. The path is full of rainbows. That's one thing. It's a rainbow road. But I mean, really, I knew I was gay in second grade. This is the earliest I can remember, because I wrote a love note to one of my girl classmates, and she went to read it, and she was like, Shay, what is this? I don't know if she knew what it was exactly, but then I just like ran away, and I was super shy. But like things like that kind of happened throughout my childhood. And then shoot, I mean, when I was that old, I had short hair. I dressed in boy clothes. I was, everybody's like, she's a tomboy, which I am, I guess. But yeah, and then when I went into middle school, I saw that all the girls had long hair. They had shaved legs. And so I remember the first day after coming back from seventh grade, I went and shaved my legs. I decided I would start growing out my hair. And this was all just to fit in, Yeah. I started wearing, these Abercrombie clothes and Hollister and that I would literally beg my mom to go buy. And she would probably, so I wouldn't wear sweatpants. But later in high school, when I started doing more sports and being more active and kind of caring less, I guess, about the clothes in particular. I started wearing more sweatpants and stuff. And I was like, man, I'd rather be freaking comfortable than wearing this wire bra and this tight shirt and tight jeans. Like, I just want to be comfortable.
Yeah.
So, and then as far as coming out, this girl just started talking. She was also, she had never been with a girl before either. So we were both very scared, scared of telling people, scared of telling our parents and friends. And then one night I came home and my parents were in the living room and they were asking about messages that were found on the computer between me and her. And obviously they were like, probably like Lifehouse lyrics or something, something really cheesy. And,
Good old Lifehouse.
And, I know, right? And yeah, and then it was actually kind of a messy situation because she had stayed at my house for the past 2 weekends. And of course my mom was like, if you had a boyfriend, we wouldn't let him sleep over. So they were very mad about that. And so for the next month I was grounded, got my phone taken away, could only drive to school and practice, couldn't go anywhere else with friends or wherever. It was pretty awful. And for that month, I pretty much, kind of stayed to myself. I didn't really talk to my parents or my family. Actually, my aunt took me to Applebee's and talked to me about it. And I cried in the Applebee's. It was terrible. But yeah, she was just kind of asking, are you sure this is what you want? I think people are well-meaning. They see other people going down these paths and being outcasts and being hated on and being judged, and they don't want their family who they love to go through that. But it's hard from the outside when they don't know what I'm feeling.
Yeah. Like,
it's way different. So yeah, that was not fun coming out. And even after that, because my family is very religious too, even after that, it wasn't like, we accept you fully. It was kind of like, okay, this happened, we're not really going to talk about it type of thing. And actually at that time, we were going to this Baptist church that we had joined pretty recently. And we hadn't been going every Sunday. But after they found out I was gay, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go every Sunday. I don't care if my family goes or not. I'm going to go by myself if I have to, because I want to show these people that, yeah, I'm gay. Okay. That doesn't mean that I'm not a good person. That doesn't mean that I can't go to church and I don't like saying like, praise God. That's just not who I am. But like going to this place that they think is a good place. And I have some baggage to get through with religion, I think. But, I can still be a good person and go to church every week and kind of prove to them that being gay wasn't a sin. And so I did that for a while. And it's funny, you realize maybe after a little bit of time that it's like, you do that for yourself. You don't need to do that for other people because it may not do anything for them, And then, yeah, like I said, I went to college and was closeted during that time. And then I went to the other 2 colleges and there were gay people on the basketball teams, which I was so grateful for because they really opened me up and I could be open with myself. And let's see, I would say my last stage was moving out to California, to Los Angeles. That was about 4 years ago. And I cut my hair. Not saying that gay people have to have short hair,
Yeah.
gay women, but it just felt really freeing to cut my hair again, and to like, I really felt like my younger self, like my younger kid. I felt like I was free again. And yeah, I mean, it's I would say a struggle with that is going into the women's restroom. Like still now, it's so funny how people will doubt themselves, because I'll be walking out of a women's restroom and a woman will be walking in and she'll stop in her tracks and look at the sign and they're like, oh, am I in the right place? And I'm like, it's funny, you doubt yourself when you see me instead of just like saying hi. Like I don't know how people should react, but it's still, I get nervous going into restrooms, especially like I remember I've been followed into a bathroom by a security guard before.
Really?
And they knocked, this has happened a couple times, but one in particular was in an airport in Mexico. And I walked in and this girl was washing her hands at the sink and she looked at me in the mirror and she kind of like stopped. And I went into a stall and then she left and then came back with a security guard. And as I was in the middle of peeing, the security guard knocked on the door. And I was like, 1 second, please. And so I finished and I opened the door and I just gave a big smile. I was like, hello. And then they both look at me kind of shocked and they're like, oh. And then they left. Like they didn't say sorry. They didn't say anything. They just turned around and left. So it's very, I get a little nervous because, again, not because I think I'm going to be beat up or anything, but because I think I'm just going to be pointed out as wrong, as not fitting in, which I think is has always kind of been something that I've had to deal with, is like the insecurity of not fitting in is something that I've all my life that I've kind of dealt with. But yeah, that's basically my journey. Yeah.
That almost sounds like and sorry if this is a little rude, but it almost sounds like a high school drama, if you will. Just like kind of
so high school.
Just kind of like unnecessarily stupid. Like just kind of like the ridicule and just like the questioning and stuff. Like it sounds weird to me.
Yeah.
Because I mean, to be fair, like I said, I've never really, I'm not very experienced in this realm. So again, forgive me. But it like, your parents are just like, we're just, like they sound almost just like super excommunicative. I think that's the right term. And then, the story with the dude, the security guard, just like, like, what do I say? Okay, bye. Like it just is, it's almost saddening just because people will, what's the term? They'll just almost like forget that you're a human, if you will, like they almost put themselves unconsciously like above you just because they're not sure. It just kind of it's weird to me.
It's a complete lack of compassion. Like compassion is understanding that somebody is feeling feelings different than yours, and that's okay. And it's the lack of that. And I have a close relationship with my mom still, my stepdad, like, they're in my life. But at that moment, I'm a 17-year-old girl who, I mean, I had heard from my dad, they're divorced now, but I had heard from my dad that he mentioned something about me being gay when I was younger. Like, it makes sense. It really makes sense. But my mom kind of wouldn't see it. She would not see it. And so she waited 17, 15 or whatever, 12 years for me to actually come out and say it. And I, I don't, I think, it's part of how she grew up. She also grew up in a very religious household. And I don't think communication was huge in the household. It was kind of like putting stuff off until it had to be said. So I think that was just her way of doing it, of kind of ignoring it until something happened. And so, yeah, I mean, so young, alone, it was just kind of, I was just very surprised at how they reacted, but also I didn't know any other way, you know?
Yeah. And like you said, you're so young, like you need, especially at a teenage age, you need your parents. Like it shouldn't matter really what's going down. Of course, unless you're some like weird, like serial killer kind of person, like you need the influence of your parents to help you in every way. So it's just, how is your relationship with your parents like right now, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah. Good. I think, I think the election kind of separated us a little bit. I wanted to have more discussions about civil rights, and my family is big on. My mom was in the Marines. My grandpa was a police officer. I had many uncles who were in the armed forces. So like my family is pro police. And, no matter whose opinions, like whatever you have, it's hard to educate somebody who doesn't want to listen.
Yep.
And so that's kind of where we were at. Like, I think maybe a week after George Floyd, I wanted to talk, and I wanted to talk to her about Donald Trump. I wanted to talk to her about George Floyd, police, and all of this. And it was kind of like I'm listening to you, but I'm not really taking it in. And these are my beliefs, and I'm sticking with them. And I'll listen, but I won't change my beliefs. And so that was kind of a hard conversation, and conversation kind of got less and less after that. And, you just have to go through levels and levels of forgiveness, because I see so many people tweeting, posting. They're like, if you voted for Trump, like, don't ever talk to me again. And people have a right to post that. But I'm like, my whole family votes for Trump. How am I supposed to just not talk to them?
Yeah.
Or, how is the society, are half of us supposed to talk to one kind of people and half of us are supposed to talk to the other half? Like, we have to find some common ground as human beings to have conversations, and it doesn't have to be all about politics.
Yep.
So yeah, I think it's been kind of hard with that. And, I was wondering, I was like, why are all of these emotions coming up because of the election and because of this civil unrest? And I really think it was again, the struggle of fitting in, the struggle of being accepted, because Donald Trump's administration is trying to go back on gay marriage, is trying to stop gay families from adopting. And so I just felt like if my own mom supported that type of administration, then on some level, she still doesn't accept me. And so I really had to dig into that. I'm like, why is this so important to me? I don't want to cut off my mom because of politics or because of an election.
Yeah.
Like, I love my mom. We've been through a lot. So I really had to also go inside myself and be like, why does this matter to me so much? Oh, it's because of this. Oh, well, then I need to work through that either by myself or talk to my mom. So yeah, I think it's been an interesting relationship the past, 6-7 months Yeah.
It's really interesting how you talk about how like you say, and I kind of want to touch on this just because it is such an important topic as of right now, given where the states are at. You said, like, even though your mom supports Trump, you yourself, I would assume you're on the other side, that you yourself have to take a step back and try and just analyze what's going on, maybe try and understand why she thinks the way that she thinks. And that, I feel like, is so important nowadays, because you have the people who are so hardcore one way or the other, they won't budge in their understanding. They just see one bad thing or maybe two bad things for whatever side they're on, and they're just like, nope, like, I don't want to deal with it. This person has my vote. And that can go for almost anything. It doesn't have necessarily go for the election, but we have such an opinionated society where they will look so hard at the other side and say, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. But they don't take the idea that they could potentially be wrong and just try and understand maybe why, someone might think one way, why this might seem, totally, whatever it is. We just need people who will kind of stop and think a little bit. That's what we need. And I found it really interesting that you say that, simply because of the fact that, you're talking about your mother and you're saying, Mom, why? I'm going to stop. I'm going to think about it a little bit. And it's just, you don't hear about that a lot. You don't hear a lot of people using their brain, if you will, to just try and understand the other side. Because I had a conversation with a gentleman yesterday, and I brought up the point to where the difference of opinions are good. That's what makes us human. And it also helps us to butt heads to then where we can try and hopefully come out with the best outcome possible. Because if we just take one side and we just run with it, that doesn't necessarily work all the time. You have to butt heads, because then you start talking about stuff, ideas start to pop up, and then you can go down the right path.
Yeah, I absolutely. I mean, thank you for that. And you either have to question these things or you're going to be miserable. Like, or you're just going to be judgmental. And that's just really just pushing negativity out in the world. That's bringing negativity to yourself. And yeah, you have to be able to see all sides. And it sucks that, politics is pretty much like a two-sided thing. Like, yeah, the Democrats don't have everything. The Republicans don't have everything. But, as a society, it's also okay to change. Like, as Donald Trump, you got to be grateful for him in a way. And the fact that he has brought up so many issues that it really makes people think, are we going in the right direction? Like, why do these, racial injustices keep coming up? Oh, it's because there's systemic racism that we haven't talked about before. Oh crap. Like, there's always a good side to a bad side and vice versa. So you have to kind of stop before you automatically judge something or someone. You have to stop, because doing that judgment isn't going to be helpful for anybody.
Yeah. And the whole reason I bring that up is because I want to say thank you, because a lot of the gay people that I see or that I meet, they're just so one side, and they're so stuck in their ways that they're not willing to maybe think of anything else. It's just this way or you're wrong. And when I hear you talking about that, it kind of helps me to see that maybe not all people are like that. I mean, of course not all people are like that, but based on my experiences, I feel like a lot of people are, just because of what I've seen, And so I say all of that, the past like 5 minutes conversation, I say all that, just say kind of thank you, because it helps my mind to be open a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah. And who knows what they have going on too.
Exactly.
They could be tremendously hurt by their rights being taken away or whatever.
Yeah. So let's kind of, I want to ask you one or two questions kind of on the lighter side, so it's not such heavy topics. So I'm just kind of curious. In the form that you filled out, I said, if you could live anywhere, where would you live? And you said Los Angeles, but you also said earlier that you're in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I'm actually in Atlanta right now.
Oh, okay.
I moved here 3 months ago, 2 or 3 months ago, but I lived in Atlanta for 4.5 years.
Okay. So then
Yeah.
what about Los Angeles is like, so what was like your original reason in going, and then why do you want to go back so bad? Is it just like the culture or the people or something?
Yeah, my original reason for going was improv comedy.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I did improv in St. Louis when I went to school, marketing, and then
Hmm.
after school I was like, I don't know what I want to do, and the my, my coworker at Starbucks was like, I do improv, so come join us. And I
Nice.
did, and it was so much fun. Like I've been into comedy my entire life,
Hmm.
just as a personal activity. Like I love Ace Ventura, Jim Carrey. Like the comedy was all I did.
Mm.
Not knowing that that was an actual career that I could pursue.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I moved out there for improv comedy and did that for a couple years, 2 or 3 years, and then and then I went into music for my fourth year, pretty much.
Mm.
And yeah, I just love, like, when I fly into LA from somewhere else, there's just an energy about it that I love.
Mm.
And I've always loved, like, or a nice, I want to say high key, but it's not high key, high end lifestyle.
Mm.
Like I like the fancy cars.
Yeah.
I like the mansions. Like I went to a couple open houses with my friend in some mansions. Oh my gosh, they're just felt like I was in a like a virtual reality game. Like it was kind of unreal,
Yeah.
And so I love that part. And the people, I think the people, you can get caught up in the greed and the drugs and the lifestyle. But I think there are so many great people in LA who
Hmm.
just want to create and who want to live their dreams. And I think that carries such a high energy that I want to be around. And so, yeah, I really I love Los Angeles. And I mean, I moved away because it was my friends brought up Atlanta to me. They're moving here in February,
Hmm.
but they brought it up to me. And I was like, that sounds actually really nice
Mm.
to be in a new place right now, to kind of get away from LA. LA is like on like 100% lockdown, it sounds
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
I was also in a job I didn't really like. And so I was like, this is perfect. You know, living in LA, I didn't really have a big enough push to leave that job and find another one. But, it would be a bigger push to move across country and do it that way. So, so yeah, but I love LA, and that probably sounds super like American to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
like, oh, I want to stay in the US. I'm not cultured, which, yes, I would love to travel more, but yeah, I just really like LA.
No, and I've been to LA once, and I loved it. It's such a beautiful city. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah.
The amount of I'll say this, the amount of organizations that are there to just try and help others is just
Yeah.
so cool. Like you can look at LA and you'll be like, oh, Hollywood and
Mhm.
Malibu and all these rich people and drug, like you can look at all the bad stuff, but when you're there and you get to see all the good stuff,
Yep.
it is such a cool environment. I mean, it's really sad to
Yeah.
see all the negativity in terms of like homeless people and drug
Yeah.
abuse and everything else, that's I would consider, subpar human lifestyles, but
Hmm. Hmm.
it's just so cool. I worked with the Dream Center for a week, which was really, really neat.
Okay. Yeah. I've been there.
Yeah, it's such a cool, it just like the idea behind going out and just helping others is so much fun. like helping
Yeah.
out the homeless people. I loved it. And of
Yeah.
course, again, not to mention the city is just really cool. It's such a huge city. You know, like
Hmm.
going up to the observatory and looking over the city at night.
Hmm.
Oh man, there's like nothing
Hmm.
like that. It's beautiful.
Yep.
It's so cool. So I can understand what you mean by LA
Yeah.
being nice. Like I like it. I don't know if I could live there personally because of the tax
Hmm.
rates and
Oh my gosh.
oh
Yeah.
my gosh, and like traffic.
Yeah.
Ugh. But
Yeah.
to be fair, it's a beautiful city.
Yeah. And the beach. I didn't even
Oh,
mention the beach, which is like
gorgeous.
up there on the list.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, they're so pretty, and
Yeah.
I don't want to say there's so many beaches because of course there are a lot of places where the city hits the water, but
Yeah. Yep.
there's a lot of just beautiful beach lined
Yep.
areas to go to. It's gorgeous.
Yep. Oh yeah.
It's just awesome. If you could
Yeah.
travel outside of the states, let's
Mhm.
just say the states you had
Yeah.
to leave for whatever reason, where would you go?
The easy answer would be Australia,
Mm.
and that's probably because it's probably pretty close to the US as far, not as far as Disney, but as far as like culture,
Yeah.
right? But I think I would say London would be
Ooh.
super cool, like the history there.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think would be really cool.
London is a good choice. It's a cool city.
Yeah.
I
Or
mean-
I mean Italy, like the Europe,
Yeah.
Europe for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Nah, I don't mean to gloat or anything. I
Oh, yeah.
always feel so bad whenever I ask this question. People are like, yeah, I would love to go to Europe. I'm like, yeah, I've been to Europe. You need to go here. And like, I always
Yeah.
feel so bad because I don't want to gloat. But Europe is a really cool choice because there's so much just history and stuff there. And it's
Yeah.
honestly like the big cities there are gorgeous. Like if you do end up going to Europe, you have to go to Germany. Germany is
Oh,
beautiful.
I've been to Germany.
Oh, seriously?
Yes, I have been to Germany. I've been there. I was in Aschaffenburg. You heard
Okay.
of that?
I have not.
Not a lot of people have. I guess it's not that big. And honestly, I don't remember like how far it is from a major city. I'm forgetting. But I went there for 2 weeks on a school trip in grad school. And it was really cool. I mean, riding on the train there.
Oh, yes.
Oh, beautiful.
Oh,
So
I love it.
beautiful.
It's
But yeah, it was awesome. Just like a couple of our professors took some Jägermeister shots. Like
nice.
they were super cool. Had some beer. It was a really, really cool experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say this though. If you ever want to go to Paris, go there for like a day or two and that's it. Don't stay there any
Okay.
longer because Paris in and of itself, while the Eiffel Tower is beautiful and the architecture is beautiful and the cathedrals, and if you like soccer, or as most people call it, football, you go to Parc des Princes, which is where PSG plays, the nerds coming out. But if you want to go there for like 2 days, that's about all you need. Other than that, like tourist trap.
Oh,
I will
okay.
say that. I will say that.
Okay. Noted.
Yeah, duly noted. And then go to
Yeah.
Switzerland. If you don't go to Switzerland, bro, you're missing out.
Oh my gosh, my friend just moved to Switzerland.
Oh, you have to go
Yes.
and visit them. You have to.
Yeah. I see them post videos, and the sky is so big. I've never seen a sky and a landscape so abundant.
Oh,
You
I
just
know.
don't have that in the US. I feel at least the places I've been to, maybe like flatlands and stuff, but yeah, I need to go there too.
You definitely have to. Once
Yes.
COVID restrictions go, you have to take a trip.
Right.
It is very expensive, I will say that, but it is definitely worth every cent. You are literally at the base of mountains, and they are so big. You're just like, what? Like your
Yeah.
mind is just blown. Oh my goodness, you
Yeah.
have to do it.
Yeah. Okay.
You have
I
to do
will.
it.
Okay.
So this last question I'll ask you, and this is the question that I like to ask everyone because I do feel that while the entire episode is all about you and your experiences and who you are and everything, some people might, listen to it and they're like, oh, yeah. And then this last part hits and they're like, oh, man, that sticks with me. So I like to try and give you the ability to, or I should say the opportunity to give one piece of advice that you would like to pass down. It could be about anything that we talked about, or it could be about something that we didn't talk about, whatever you want, but like a piece of advice or a saying or, some sort of thought or something that's kind of just stuck with you from, however long it's been.
Yeah. Well, thank you for giving me this time. I read so much personal development that like all it is advice. So it's kind of hard to like, okay, pick one thing. But I think the most important thing is to find ways to be grateful for something. I work with a really, really awesome team. I work for a life coach, and he's a personal trainer, very successful personal trainer in LA. And he just preaches on finding the positive side of whatever you're going through, or of a person. If you are, okay, I'm having problems with my mom, what are 10 things I love about her?
Yep.
What are, with COVID, what are 10 things you can be grateful for? You're by yourself in your apartment through all this time. Like, what do you have? Because if you're listening to this, you have a lot to be grateful for.
Yep.
And I think, oh my gosh, it's kind of crazy what pops up when you are in that mode of gratitude. And I've seen both sides. I've seen, when I'm scared and I'm fearing something, I'm fearing the future, I'll get more of that. I'll get more fear. I'll get more things to be scared of. But when I'm really grateful for the moments and for everything that I have right now, it kind of like opens up a future of possibility. So yeah, I think being grateful is one of the least talked about things in our society that people could really use. Just 5 minutes a day, 5 minutes when you wake up, 5 minutes when you're laying in bed, just something small, and it could really, really turn your life around.
Yeah. And I don't want to add on to that because everything you said is so true, but I will say this, it's awesome to hear someone trying to have such a positive impact in such a negative world that we live in right now, given everything that is going on, COVID and the whole political thing that just went down and everyone else freaking out about blah, 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 whatever it is. We need more positivity.
And the thing is, it's a choice.
Yep.
Like it's a choice. And I'm not talking about toxic positivity, or I'm not talking that trash. I'm talking that it's a choice.
Yeah.
I don't know how to expound on that anymore, like just the straight fact that it's a choice, and it's not automatic. Like, I get it. It's not like, oh, I should be more grateful every day. Now you're going to wake up and for 5 minutes think of things to be grateful for. It doesn't happen like that. You have to be aware. You have to practice it. It is a daily practice. And so, like, give yourself grace. Okay, you forgot to do it 5 minutes this morning. Do it right now. Do it after you stop listening to this. Get out a piece of paper and write it down. Get out your phone, write it down. So just like, yeah, you have to want to be grateful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so true. Thank you so much for saying that, because it is 100% true, and it is something that people need to hear because they don't understand how to be grateful or nice or positive or anything that can come from that. It's so true. We live, I mean, we just live in an environment where people can kind of say anything. Like, I'm on Twitter a lot. And I just see I have to sometimes back away from it because I see a lot of negativity. But yeah, you just have to you just have to take control. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Shay, for being here and being so open and everything. And like I said earlier, I'm so glad that we finally were able to sit down and talk for an hour, because this was honestly, I mean, I don't want this to sound bad, but this is awesome and so much better than what I thought. It would be. It was so good and so eye-opening and just honestly a fun time. So I want to say thank you.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I have a podcast, not trying to promote it or anything,
I was just going to give you a time to promote and do all your stuff. So go ahead, please.
Thank you. And I just wanted to relate to you in a way, like when I talk to people for an hour that maybe I've talked to a couple times before, maybe I really haven't. It is it is so fascinating to really get to know a person for an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just that one person. And it really opens you up to how unique we all are and how important we all are. And so I appreciate you giving me this time to talk about my life. But yeah, so I have a podcast called Level Up with Shay. You can find that pretty much anywhere. Also, I have videos up of the podcast on YouTube. You can find that just by typing in Level Up with Shay. My Instagram is ShayedBeats, ShaydBeats. And you can find all the links to my comedy or podcast or music on there. I'm also on TikTok. I have a couple funny characters on there.
Awesome.
And Shade Beats is the name for that too. So, yeah. Thank you so much, Daniel.
Yeah, of course. Send me all of the information through email, so then whenever I publish this, I can just post those in the notes, so then anyone can just look down and they can see it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again for just being so open and being just. It sounds like you have a very solid head on your shoulders, so I want to thank you for that too, because it really helps this, go much easier than what it could be. So
yeah. It's not always perfect, but it's there more than it's not, for sure.
Yeah, and then I would of course offer if you ever want me on your podcast, or you want to use me in some way in that respect, I'm free. Just shoot me an email and we can figure something out. So.
Awesome. Yeah. Sounds great.
But yeah, I hope you have a wonderful night and your weekend is killer.
Yes, you too.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And again, hope you have a great night.
Yeah, you too. Thanks, Daniel.
Yep. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
Shay is awesome, dude. Here's the thing, and this was so good. You see how, or I shouldn't say you see, because of course you're listening, huh? You hear how she says that, she's gay. She's on this one side, and a lot of people might automatically assume that she's one way. But then she comes out to say that she is more open than everyone else, and she's more accepting of information, and she will actually sit there and think about what's going on. Is something that I feel like more people need to hear. Not to mention, she's just a very kind person to talk to you. Love overall. People say it, but they don't mean it until they're actually. You gotta love, bruh. Like, it's seriously one of the best ways to be friends with people, be nice to people. Just love them. Whether that be giving someone $5 to go get a cup of coffee, or saying, oh, you look nice. Kindness goes a long way. So take that as you will. But thank you, Shay. Great dude, Shay, for talking with me. That was really good. I really did enjoy that. Thank you for listening to this episode of Across the Pond. If you feel that this was something that deserved your time, you really enjoyed it, or even if you really disliked it, please rate it however you see fit on whatever platform you're on. If you think you know someone that would love to be a guest on an episode, please send them my email address. That's acrossthepondpod01@gmail.com. It's in the show notes. You can also connect with me on Twitter @KingServant. That's KINGSSERVANT. I want to thank Mark for making the logo for me, and for the Black Couch label, and solo artist Ollie H for making the music. And I want to thank you, the listener, for being here and giving this about an hour of your time. Really do appreciate it. Tune in next Sunday for another episode of Across the Pond.